Hello, everybody, and welcome along to the very first Rangers Rabble football phone in. 0333 is the number to phone if you want to get through to me or the guys, get a point across, tell us how rubbish our opinions are, or tell us that you agree with all this, or me, agree with me. Now, I have to say this before we start, before I bring in Wolf and Stu, before I get to hopefully some calls. I've been trying for the last 2 days to make this phone in work. Really trying. I thought I had it nailed down. I thought it was all sorted. And we were still having some slight technical issues. I'm hoping that we can manage to get through it, and I will certainly have another look back and try and sort it a wee bit. But yeah, please do, if you're watching, give us a wee call, 0333 050 2812 to get through to us. While we're waiting on, hopefully, those phone lines ringing. Wilf, how are you?
I'm very well, Martin, thank you.
Good. Stu, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good here. Day off tomorrow as well, so I can't complain.
Right now, obviously, it's been 2 days of me trying to figure this out. Right, so I says to you, Wilf, just before we started, I've not actually thought of anything to say. So, obviously, the big news is Colac. It looks like that deal's going to get over the line. It looks like it, I should say. There's been a lot of mixed responses online. Well, there's been, Rangers hurry up and do something, hurry up and sign somebody, and then it's announced that we're close to signing Colac, and people are moaning about his age. How do Rangers win?
Rangers can't win. That's just the nature of the Rangers support. You know what we're like. We can't do right for doing wrong. I try to be as level-headed as I can be. I don't really know that much about the guy. Obviously, he scored twice last year for Malmo against us. There were two decent goals, but the defending was shocking, so you can't really draw too much into that. Other than that, couldn't tell you a thing about him. He didn't score many goals when we went back to Greece. But the Greek league, from what I understand, it's not a high-scoring league anyway. Interesting thing for me is Malmo had him on they already had it was one of these loan to buy deals, but they didn't have to buy him. It was a loan. The fee was agreed if they wanted to buy him, and they've chosen not to buy him. So if Malmo don't want him after having him, why would we want to have him? For me, nice to see Martin's just disappeared. Stu, it's just you and me. This phone is going off when he can't even stick him out for the pod. There he goes.
Don't worry, I'm back.
Put me in the top left corner. That's good.
You look good up there.
I don't know enough about the guy. From what I can gather, he would be an upgrade on Cedric Hitton, so he would probably come in as a third choice striker behind Morelos and Roof. Don't know where that leaves us if either of the two of them leave, which is there's a distinct possibility of. So, but no, I'm not sure. I mean, if it's for the money they're talking about, 1.8 million, then it's a punt, isn't it? Really.
Mm-hmm. Well, look. I'll come back to that in 2 seconds, right? I forgot to say hello to everybody watching, and it's not like me. I normally do. I apologise for the way I look. I've spent 2 days in this room trying to get this to work. So yeah, hello to everybody watching. Please do like and subscribe as well, of course. And see if you are watching now in the comments. Going to just somebody phone in to be test out the phone lines to see if they're working. Give us a wee phone. Curry's put 0333 Hope Hats, a free number. It is a UK based number. So yeah, it's absolutely free. And we have our first call coming in. Now, obviously, I'll bring the call in 2 quick seconds. Please mind your P's and Q's. So, yeah, the first caller to the Rangers Rabble football phone in, caller ending 272. How are you? Hello. Hello. Can you hear us? And they have hung up. There you go. Can everybody hear the person saying hello, actually? That's even
I had one hello.
You had one hello. Wolf, how many hellos did you hear there? You're on mute, so you clearly never heard any because you're on mute.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, I forgot to put myself on mute as I was instructed to do. No, I only heard one because if I heard two, I'd probably have started singing.
I believe that was actually Curry Muncher. So, Curry, if it's you, please do phone back. Let's get you on. So, Stu, yeah, what Wolf was touching on there with Colac, 1.8, I think, is the fee that I'm hearing. Are we paying as little as 1.8 sounds? Are we paying that for a backup?
It's hard to say. I think in terms of the amount of games we play this season, we definitely need one, maybe two more. I think he'd get a lot of game time in the SPL or SPFL. I think he's a perfect striker. From what I've seen of him, and as I say, it's not too much. So Wilf just saw him sort of tear our defence apart, which wasn't that hard that day. From what I read, Malmo did have a 3 million agreed fee, and I think in January they tried to bring that fee down to buy him, but Pauk weren't moving on it. But with us, it seems that's all they are doing is moving on it. They seem to be moving the goalposts every which way. Every time it gets close, it seems there's a new fee. I think they're holding out for 3 million euros, about 2.5. So I don't know if we're trying to agree a 1.8 base fee with add-ons. But, you know, a guy 28 coming into his prime years, looked good from the small sort of period we saw of him. I'd take the punt on him. I think he's looked good enough for me. He's clearly someone we want. He's clearly someone that we've been after for a while. I would just want us to get it done at this point. I don't want us dragging our heels like we did last season, and then we got packed out of the Champions League for it. So just get it done.
One thing, Wolf, actually, I suppose, that has been mentioned but hasn't been mentioned. He's 28, 29, Colac.
28, yeah.
28. So for once we're kind of buying the finished article, I suppose. But before you do that, we do have a call coming in. I will try my best here. Curry Muncher, is that you?
Sorry, Bob, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you absolutely fine, buddy. Can you hear me? Oh, Curry.
Talk to me, mate. I can't hear anything at all.
Why can't Curry hear anything? That is the... Oh.
Come on from your end at all, Martin.
I
don't want to put the hold on a second. Put this on.
Don't put that on. That did not sound right, Curry. Oh, can you hear us? Can you hear us now? No, absolutely shocking that this is happening. I have been trying, folks. Like I said, but we're having terrible technical issues. So I'm sorry, Wolf. I interrupted you there. Sorry.
Did you? I don't know what.
Sorry, I didn't even finish the question. This is going terrifically well. I did say that this would be absolutely horrendous. So we're buying Colac at 29. He's the finished article, I suppose. He's as good as he's ever going to be, and that's not something really that you see now, really, is it? The kind of way people go now is they've got to be young. And Wolf's not even answering my back.
No, I am. You're not answering your phone, mate. You're not answering the phone.
No, I know, because I knew it was your number.
It wasn't my number. Wasn't my number.
What is going on?
I'm not trying to phone you.
Just
know somebody that has just tried to phone you, and you didn't answer it. So
no, because I was asking you a question, and I'm trying to sort the settings out in the background.
Right, okay. As I say, it'll be a punt at 1.8 million. If the stumbling block is add-ons, I don't really see what sort of add-ons they could be looking at for a guy of that age. You know what I mean? I mean, you normally get add-ons for somebody that's early to mid-20s because they've got a big contract left in them after that. If we sign the guy at 28, 29-year-old and we sign him on a 3 or 4 year contract, he's not going to go anywhere for big money after that, because once they turn early 30s as an outfield player, you're going to get a 2 year contract maximum. So there's not really going to be any, I couldn't see us selling him for considerably more than we bought him for. So quite what Pauk are holding out for, if the add-ons is the problem, I don't really. I mean, if Pauk can give us 20% of any profit you make on it, I would just say right, fine, because we probably would make a profit on the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because that's the way it works when they're that age. So if that is the stumbling block, as has been reported by some Greek journalist, then I don't really see why it is a problem.
No, it's look. Let's move away from all the where the issues lie. Is he going to be any good? Blah 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 blah. Let's move on to the more important questions. Too. We're spending a bit of money on a striker. We currently have 2 strikers at the football club in Kmart Roof and Alfredo Morelos. If we're spending upwards of, let's say, I don't know, 2 million on a striker, does that mean that quite possibly one of them's going?
It's very possible.
Or do you think, actually, I'll add on to that question as well. Is there a possibility Gio comes into this new season with a completely different shape and formation?
Yeah, I think he could. I don't think he will, but I think he could because he's got that in his locker room. He's proved that over the course of last season that he's willing to change things to fit the players as opposed to trying to change the players to fit the system. I don't know. I think having 3 quality strikers at the club is an absolute necessity. And
hold on, Stu. We're going to try again for a caller. Let's hope this works. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How you doing?
Not bad.
Right. Now I'm pretty sure, right, and I'm going to take a wild punt here, that I think this might be my uncle.
It is.
I thought it might have been. Now, how you doing?
Not bad.
Right, what's your point tonight, caller?
I didn't really have a point. I just wanted to phone you up because you seem to be kind of struggling there. And I just wanted to see if it was actually working.
Right. Well, it seems to be working for me. Stu, Wolf, is it working for you?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Yep.
Absolutely. People in the comments, is it working for you? Please do let me know. And in fact, while I've got you on then, Uncle, I will ask you the question. Colac, what's your thoughts?
I think it could be a good signing. Done a business against us when he was with Malmo, so promising.
Done the business with us against Malmo, Wolf. I can't remember him playing for Malmo against us. I'm not going to lie to you, Wolf. I can't remember.
I can't remember the first thing about him, but I know he scored 2 other goals. So I remember the goals that he scored. I couldn't have told you who scored them, but apparently it was him. So that's as much as I know about him.
Any other positions that are worrying you? Know, I'll call you William because calling you Uncle just sounds strange doing it on a podcast, right? So I'll refer to you as William, right? Any other positions that you want to see us strengthen before we get much further into pre-season?
Definitely need somebody in the right wing. So I don't know what's going to happen with Aribo. I don't know if he might be off.
Well, we did hear there's a 10 million release clause, and I don't know if that's true.
Aye, well, we've got 3 players that have contracts are running out, so we're going to need to look to replace them at least, or else get their contracts sorted.
This is the point, Stuart, Wolf, where you come in and go, oh yeah, here's my thoughts on that point from the caller.
Yeah, here's my thoughts on that point from the caller. I think it's bang on.
Right, well, I'll tell you what they say.
I think we've made that point quite a few times. The contract situation has been a bit of a joke at the club, to be honest. 3 of our most valuable players are now in the last year. Bit surprised if it is a 10 million release clause that it's not come up before because, Aribo's been pressed for a long time with us. So someone could have snatched him away at a bit of a bargain. But yeah, I think he's bang on everything, really. Right wing is absolutely where we need to sign. And just in terms of Colac when he played against us, I think someone just said it in the comments. Was it William in the comments? Certainly stood out to me. I thought exactly the same when he played us. I thought his movement was brilliant. And I was thinking, I said to my old man, I was like, why can't we have a player like this? How is he playing for Malmo and we can't find players like this? So, I think absolutely worth it for me. And the contract situation, I've made that point so many times. I'm furious with it.
Wolf?
Yeah, the contract situation is a worry. The 10 million release clause for Aribo surprises me because if that is what's been there, why did somebody not snap him up in January when he was absolutely flying? I mean, first half of the season he was arguably the best player in Scotland by a country mile. So why did somebody not come in then and say, look, we know he's at the AFCON, but there's 10 million. That's the release clause, come and play for us. And that gave him 6 months or wherever that was to bed in for the new season, for this new season coming up. So that's a strange one if it's true. But with only a year of his contract left, getting 10 million would be a result, to be fair. With only a year of his contract left to go.
Right, well, William/Uncle, thank you very much for the call.
No bother.
Did you manage to hear Will for Stu at all?
I caught wee bits here.
Right. That's something
Okay.
that's something I'll
something
need to
to
look
work
into.
on.
No worries. Okay, thank you.
All right. All the best.
Cheers. Bye. And that was our first kind of mid-successful phone call. There you go. So if you want to be like William/Uncle, then please do phone in. The number is in 2 seconds once it comes to the bottom of the screen. 0333 050 2812. Yeah, Stu, that whole 10 million release clause for Aribo, that just came out of nowhere. I'd never heard of anything like that before. And before I come to that, Stu, we've got another caller coming in. Yes. Hello, welcome to the Rangers Rabble Football Phone In. What's your name? Where are you?
Demi Lee in Dundee.
Oh, well, I think I might know who that is.
This wasn't set up at all, Martin, honestly. You've had your uncle, I've got my daughter.
There you go. It's uncles and daughters. There we go. Demi, how are you?
I know that, thank you, sir.
And I'm guessing that Wolves gave you about a 4-hour list of talking points to use.
No.
No, well, I'll let you take it away then.
Just you.
I can hear it in the background as well.
I know that, thank you, sir.
What's your thoughts on Colac, Demi?
You're like, I can hear you on my phone before I can hear you on the computer. Speaking a little bit. But, I've just got a question. It's
Cool.
are you guys? I don't know. I don't know anything about the guy. Never heard of him. Didn't even know he scored against us.
No.
To be fair.
No, neither did I. Neither did I. And Wolf, that is what we spoke about. That you didn't even realise that he scored against us for Malmo either.
No, not till I read it on social media that somebody said that's who he was, so no, I didn't have a clue.
No. Right, well, Demi, thank you for phoning in. Have you got a question?
You don't even let her ask her question because she's got a cracking question to ask you.
Okay, fire away with the question.
It's, are you guys surprised by the lack of transfer activity, or are you expecting on Friday when contracts start to expire, will you be expecting more people to be announced as coming to the club, or will you expect any more players to be leaving?
Oh, that's a good one. Fortunately, I don't have to answer that because a certain Mr. Wilf Marshall can answer that. Wilf?
Well, I actually said the question, so it's to me it's interesting because there was a wee bit of activity at the start of June when the contracts expired on the 30th of April, 30th of May rather. But there's also I know a lot of contracts run out on the 30th of June, so it'll be interesting to see if on Friday there's a wee bit of movement or over the weekend there's a bit of movement with players for some reason we haven't announced that are out of contract at other clubs, or there might be players at our club that are that we let go because that's when the last year kicks in, or their contract's running out. We haven't realised it. Some of the kind of fringe players.
Yeah, I'm going to quickly say I know a lot of people are struggling to hear the caller. That's something that I know about, and that's something that I am going to try and fix. I don't seem to have any audio issues my end, but I think that's all because it's coming onto my computer. The question was, are we surprised about the lack of transfer activity, and do we expect to see a lot of signings going forward? Wolf, I believe that was the question, yes?
The question was...
Right, as you said, and thank you to Demi for phoning in. Thank you.
Are you surprised by the lack of transfer activity, or do you think when July the 1st comes round, which is this Friday, and more contracts expire, we'll begin announcing incomings and potentially more outgoings?
Stu?
Yeah, I think that's it's a pretty fair point, isn't it? I think sort of 30th of June, 1st of July is the sort of normal time that players actually officially leave their clubs when their contracts are up. So, yeah, I certainly expect more movement going forward now, sort of into July. That's when the majority of the clubs are starting to do their business. It's just a bit worrying that we our season does start earlier than other leagues, so it's a bit worrying that we're not out doing it early and basically getting them in. We're fortunate that we play the Champions League qualifier a bit later this year, but we still need these players in training, getting used to the team, gelling with the squad, so that we don't have another mishap like we did last year. Because even though we're seeded in the Champions League, it's not going to be easy. But yeah, there's plenty of bargains out there if that's what we want to do. If we're going to be, bargain basement, there's plenty to be had. We just got to make sure we get them done. And I just hope it's not more like this Colac deal where we're dragging our heels and then it turns around. If Pauk can move the goalpost again, then we don't agree a deal. Then we're back to square one. Have we got other targets? We don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's a bit worrying, but like a little bit of optimism still.
I have to say, great point made by Stuart Henderson. He said wild, but he means Wilf. Wilf knew the question beforehand. It's like American politics. I think Wilf set poor Demi up there. I think he.
I was very worried that nobody was phoning in, so I primed her. I said, "Look, can you phone in just to make sure we've got a caller?"
What do you mean nobody would phone in? My uncle phoned in.
I didn't expect you. I didn't know how it was going to go with these things. There's loads of people in the comments, and with these things, it's like going to a buffet at a wedding. Nobody will go till one person goes up. So it's now that somebody's come up and come on. Hopefully, we'll get a few more boys and girls.
Well, see, this is the thing. Right now, this is the first show, and I've done it quite early because it is just all trial and error. I'm trying to get the phone thing working. I'm trying to get the computer side working, but there is some absolutely fantastic comments in the comments. Where is the evidence to show we are good enough to win the league, I suppose, with virtually the same squad this season?
I'll take that straight away.
Just before you do, Wilf, that has pretty much been what most people online have been saying, simply because they're worried that there hasn't obviously been any transfers yet. So along with that question, what I would say is that's going on the basis that we don't make any signings, apart from obviously maybe Colac. Are you as worried as what Mac is?
No, because last season we didn't lose the league. We handed the league away. We were the best team. We were the best team in that league. We blew it with our own shortcomings. We absolutely blew the league last season. Right, we're still if we keep the same squad now. I don't want us to, because if you keep the same squad, you're staying still. You're effectively going backwards. We brought in John Suter, so that's he'll come in as a as a the kind of third or fourth choice centre back. That's fine, not a problem, right? They haven't. The only team going to stop us winning the league, Celtic, right? Nobody else in Scotland's going to get a ghost of it. They haven't strengthened. They spent £15 million to stay still, because they've signed that Carter Vickers and they've signed some other Oriental gentleman who was on loan. I can always get them all mixed up. Whichever one it was, they say the one that runs about a lot. They've signed the two of them. So they've effectively spent £15 million to stand still. At the moment, we're no weaker than we were, so we're still better than them. If we start losing players and we don't bring people in, that's a worry. But we still do need to bring people in, having said that.
We've got somebody, Wilf, who's coming straight back at you. Walter Zenga. Wilf, that's nonsense. Our problem is we can't beat the Diddy mobs and score goals. They can. Plus, they won the Old Firm League head-to-head.
When we didn't, it's a fair point, but when we didn't beat the Diddy teams, it wasn't because they were better than us, it's because we made an absolute mess of it. I mean, look at last minute goal against Hearts when McGregor threw it in. Going 2-0 down to Aberdeen in 16 minutes is unforgivable. Throwing away a two goal lead against Motherwell, unforgivable. That was our own shortcomings. That's not because they were better than us. It was just our own shortcomings for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason was. We just weren't playing very well.
Yeah.
I fully believe
pick any of the Ross County goals.
Ross County, ridiculous. 3-1. What was it? 3-1 up against Ross County. You threw it away in the last minute. Ridiculous.
That was all 3 goals we threw in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would be maybe not happy, but you would be confident enough to go into this season. If we didn't make any signings, you'd still be confident we could go on and win the league.
I'd be confident we'd win the league if we were playing the B team in every game. That's how confident I am on Rangers. But yeah, if both squads stay the same as they are now, we will win that league. Absolutely no problem, right? But the squad can't stay the same because we'll effectively be going backwards. We do need to freshen it up. We need to bring in players. We still need to ship players out. Still a lot of deadwood lying about. We need to bring in new players, but we need to bring in quality. It's not just about bringing in numbers. We're just about bringing in numbers that go sign anybody.
Mm-hmm.
We need to bring in quality players that are going to benefit the team. And I'm getting a bit concerned that we're heading towards July, and we haven't brought anybody in. I mean, if I'm sitting here this time next week and we haven't signed anybody, and a couple of players have left, I'll be getting very, very concerned. But at the moment, if the squad stayed exactly the same as it was now, and their squad stayed exactly the same as it is now, we'd win the league. We'd have the league won by Easter.
I don't know so much if I agree with that, Stu.
Yeah, so, I mean, to be fair, on that point of the old firm games, the sort of mini league old firm games, I think when sort of we had the Gerrard to Gio transition, we had that horrendous game at their place. But I think towards the end, the sort of the cup game and the league game, I thought we were the better side of both. So I think once Gio sort of got his feet in the door and got our team to play the way he wants them to, we looked a much better side. But yeah, we did throw away a lot of points. And at the end of the day, the league doesn't lie. So they won the league fair and square. But
well, even having said that, if they hadn't got their way and moved that winter break, we'd have absolutely walked that.
Oh yeah, I think so. I 100%
we would
agree
have
on that.
absolutely walked that. Like, for some reason, we come back after winter breaks and we're an absolute car crash.
Yeah.
We were flying going into the winter break, which is why they wanted it moved. We would have come up here and beat Aberdeen at Pittodrie, and we would have got a result against them. And that would have been 10, 12 points clear. And
the frustrating thing there was they also managed to bring in sort of 4 or 5 new players into their squad, didn't they? And we had no Morelos.
Stu, when we eventually played them on February the 2nd, they had 9 players playing in that game that wouldn't have been able to play in December.
That is ridiculous.
So that's the difference. That was the difference. That's what cost us the league. That and the fact that daft points to daft teams.
Yeah, that you can look at sort of individual moments in the season, but overall, the whole season wasn't good enough. And we've all made our points, whether it was McGregor throwing in goals or the defence not being good enough at critical moments. But I think one of the points we've made is that we can't. You do need to freshen it up from time to time, and this squad have been together for so long, and for the most part, it's great because they know each other inside out. But you do need that freshness. You need to inject that freshness into the squad because otherwise it just gets stale, and they've got nothing left to achieve with each other. They don't. If they don't have that mentality, then it becomes a big problem. I think we need 2 or 3 starters or players that can push the starters. It's just whether or not this board can go out and get them.
You need to have competition for all. You need to have competition for all the places. I mean, you don't want players to think, well, I'm guaranteed a game because there's nobody pushing me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you need. It's the old 2 players for every position thing that they always used to rattle on about. You need that. You need players that are good enough to push the goalkeeper. You need a second goalkeeper that's good enough to push the number 1. You need a good right back that's good enough to push Tav. You need a left back that's good. I mean, look at the left back situation. Barisic fell off a cliff. Bassi came in, played really well. Then Barisic upped his game again when Bassi moved into cover centre half.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's competition there. So we need to bring in players to complement the squad. Otherwise, we are going backwards.
I don't want to make every single pod that we do, every show that we do in the pre-season, criticising the board, criticising Ross Wilson, etc., etc. But the point I'm seeing in quite a few of the comments too is what worries people a little bit more is if it is, say for talking's sake, 2 or 3 nailed on first team players that we need to bring in. We've seen how long it's took Rangers, and we still don't know how far on it is yet in these negotiations for Colac. So if that's how difficult it's going to be to get a player in for 1.7, 1.8 million, how difficult is it going to be to get somebody in for 3 million, for 4 million, for 5 million?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the thing is, we don't know the budget. We know that we did very well in Europe. We know that the board themselves have said that we made more in that Europa League run than we would have get into the Champions League groups. But we're not spending any money, and we don't know if we're waiting just to get the targets. We don't know what we're doing. But it's worrying that the first guy that we're sort of linked with it's taken this long. That we just can't get a simple one over the line. But that being said, these days we do tend to keep our cards a little bit closer to our chest. Our stories don't leak out as much as they used to. So it might be that in the background they're working and we're going to have 2 or 3 cracking players come in. We don't know. I think the problem is that the majority of the fans don't trust the board to do that, and that is a problem in itself.
But to play devil's advocate, Martin, right? I mean, the point you make is right. That it's worrying it's taken this long to do the Colac deal if in fact we're into doing the deal at all, because as Stu rightly says, nothing comes out of Rangers now. There's no leaks. There's nothing. It's from a nobody's going to come in and pull the rug from under my feet point of view. Is great, but from our point of view, doing a podcast, it's absolutely horrific because you've got nothing to work with. But if it's taken that long to do that deal, how do we know what's going on in the background? You know, as Stu says, we could be working on 3, 4, 5 million pound deals that we just don't know about, and they're quite complicated. Because these days, particularly if it's a young player, it is all add-ons and and bonuses and all this sort of stuff. And I mean, Rangers might be getting into it saying, "Look, we're going to negotiate this, but if this breaks from your side, we're just going to walk away from it because nothing's coming out of Rangers." So, like this whole Colac thing's coming out of Greece. It's all coming out of Greece because we haven't said a thing about it.
Yeah, that's true.
So they might have said to somebody that they're working on, "Look, we're going to make this deal work, but if it breaks in the media before we're ready to break it, we're walking away and we're not signing anything." We just don't know. You know what I mean? Just we have to be bringing in players soon.
Is it a worry, Wolf, that pre-season started though and we haven't brought anybody in?
It'll be more of a worry if they're away in their training camp and they haven't brought in new faces, because it's a staggered start this week. I mean, the guys that were playing in the internationals aren't back yet anyway. They're not back till they're basically joining the squad, I believe, to fly out to Portugal on, I think it's Monday they fly out. I think they're joining them to fly out. So likes of Aribo and Bassi, they're not even back in Glasgow yet, unless they're in of their own volition to do extra training because they've got extra time off because they've only had a couple of weeks away since the international stopped. So I'd be more concerned if there wasn't fresh faces on the plane when they go to Portugal.
I suppose as well, Stu, a lot of people have been referencing Europe and how they want players in and up to scratch before we need to play, obviously, the Champions League qualifiers. But correct me if I'm wrong, we're entering at a later round this year. So we've got maybe is it an extra week or something we've got to prepare?
Yeah, I can't. Did we start it before the league last season?
No. Last year we did. This year,
it was. Yeah, this year's the week after, is it? Or in the week from after the Livingston game. Yeah. So but it's the same point, isn't it? We dragged our heels that Joey Veerman deal. We seem to be waiting to get that Champions League money before we went out and got him. And in that, sort of come back to get us really. But I don't know. I think you've got to sometimes speculate to accumulate, and we've got to go out and get these players to get us into that Champions League, because you'll get the reward straight back from it. And there's no guarantees, and I get that. I get the boards thinking if they think our team is good enough to make it through those rounds, and we've proved that in Europe, then that in itself is an issue. That if they think just because we've reached a final in Europe, then we don't need to strength from just now. We can sort of rely on these guys to do it again. And just cracking out that comment there. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's a tough one. I think in terms of scouting as well, the few players we've identified in the past, it seemed to be the right players that we're just not getting over the line. So that Veerman seems to have gone and done very well. There was that was it that Meyer lad before as well, the Croatian guy who's, by all rights, he's about to earn a big move as well. So we seem to be identifying the right players, but we just need to go and get them. Just take the risk and get them in, and they'll do well. Most of our players now that we've brought in the past few years, we have talked about getting big money from them. Unfortunately, we've let their contracts run down. But so I think identifying players isn't the issue. Our issue is actually just paying the money and getting them in.
Do you know what? GB makes a fantastic point. Well, difference this year is if we get knocked out, we go straight into the Europa group stages. So it's not like, we need to play a qualifier if we don't make it into the Champions League. So surely the board can afford to be a wee bit more speculative. And that was difficult for me to say.
They must be able to budget for the fact that the minimum we're going to get is whatever Europa League group stages give you. They can budget for that, whatever the prize money for that is. They'll know roughly what they'll get for that because they've been in them in the last 4 years. So they must be able to tell, what revenue they can make from Europa League group stages. So that must be available, or some of that must be available to the manager to bring in players. You know, I mean, it is quite worrying that they haven't brought anybody in. But I mean, I saw a comment from somebody there. I can't remember who it was, saying just it's from CGM. Need to sign someone anyone will do. Anyone won't do. You know what I mean? I get where he's coming from, but we need to sign. As I said earlier, it's got to be quality, not quantity. You know, it's also quite worrying that the three big players who are entering in the last year of the contract, there's no word on them extending, which would tell me they're going to have to leave, because the whole player trading model thing. Aribo's going to go. I'm fairly. I know you keep saying he's happy here and he wants to see it year out and all that.
He's happy and he wants to stay, but it doesn't mean that he will.
No, because he maybe wants to stay. But if there is a £10 million clause in there, he'll go for that, because that's a lot of money to us, and we can't risk losing that and losing him for nothing next summer. You know, and he is still young enough that a team down south will take a £10 million punt on him.
Here's a positive spin, Stu, right? Can I put a positive spin on it? It's not actually me, it's Curry Muncher who's been positive. So, I don't know. That doesn't seem right to me. If we do not get any other players in, or say maybe just one or two, does that mean that the younger boys are going to play a bigger part for the starting 11 from the squad, but getting a bit more game time?
I would really hope so. I mean, regardless whether we bring players in or not, Lowry has to get game time this season. I think we've all agreed on that. But the other guys, the other young players that have come in, you know, some of them only got that chance against Hearts, but they all looked very good in that game. King's played quite a few games now. They've clearly got talent. Charlie McCann as well. I would hope with Dave Voss being a youth coach, with Van Bronckhorst using youth players a lot at Feyenoord, that would be their thinking, that they would use the youth players. But historically, we don't tend to do it. Well, in recent history anyway, we don't tend to do it that much.
Don't get me
started. Hopefully, I know. But it bumps the views up when you go on rants. So, but no, we got to hope that these players are going to get their chance. I think Lowry and King, mainly Lowry, are going to get their chance anyway this season, because they're too good not to. And just on the point of the dropping into the stage, Europa League stage as well, I'm pretty sure if we do drop in, we're pot one as well. So that's not a guarantee that you're going through, but it's a guarantee that you're going to get a slightly less difficult group than we would have got in previous years. So the chances that we qualify and we've got European football after Christmas is relatively hot.
Mm-hmm. If you can name the TV programme that Dick Van Dijk and his son Barry was in, I'll give you a very massive pat on the back. Can anybody name the programme before the comments come in, mate? Because I know somebody in the comments will come in, mate. Don't Google it, Wolf.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at a message on my phone.
Can anybody think? I know this is completely off topic, but it is called the Rangers Rabble. So, can anybody? I'll give you a clue. Nicholas Moore. There we diagnose his murder. There we go. The South Wales Loyal. You got a massive pat in the back there for the South Wales Loyal. Well, where Rangers haven't been slow in recruitment is young players. Every time you seem to switch on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, we seem to be signing another young player.
Yeah, they seem to have signed a plethora of them. There's a good word for a Wednesday night. But I mean, it's quite encouraging. But I mean, these guys are obviously just coming in for the under-18s and potentially the B team. And as somebody messaged me earlier and said, that's fine. Looks like the squad's good for the 2025-26 season, but we need players for the 2022-23 season.
Yeah, we do.
So, I mean, it's encouraging. These guys are obviously fairly good. I mean, I don't know what it is with Patrick Thistle. We seem to be having a really good relationship with them. Just like we took a lad off of them, and they've taken a couple of loan players off us in recent seasons. Yeah, so that seems to be, But as things should be, I mean, we're the biggest and best club in the country, and we should be having the best players at that level, and that's just the way it is.
What Wolf says, Stu, it's all great planning for the future. Without going on my rant from the last show, Rangers don't really seem to do much with players for the future. But yeah, it's all well and good signing the top young players for Scotland, for down south. I think we've signed 3 or 4 highly regarded youth players. But like Wolf says, that's all well and good. But fans aren't looking at who we're signing for the future. Fans are looking at what we're doing now.
It's true, but I don't think we can take our eye off the ball in other areas. I think, the other parts of the club still have to function properly, even if the main part that we want isn't. And the youth system and youth development, the player trading model that's got to go down that route. So it's encouraging to see that side of things, that we aren't standing still. We're trying to get in, and all these players seem to be sort of highly coveted players. And seeing from the media as well, we're in for Bailey Royce at Motherwell as well, and sort of
apparently
seem to
getting close.
Yeah, seem to have taken the lead in the chase for him. So hopefully we can get that one over the line as well. And there's no guarantee with those players, but if they're that highly rated, you would hope 1 or 2 of them are going to be able to make it. But yeah, I mean, we can discuss it to the cows come home of the lack of transfer activity, and whether we're doing it in the background or whether we are just dragging our heels and we haven't really got a clue. But it's encouraging to see one side of the transfers are working in a way, if you get me, with the youth players, and now with this B team playing sort of men's football, I think it's a really good platform for them to sort of show what they can do.
Yeah, Curry Muncher. Martin, are you one of those wear a band T-shirt and can't name 3 songs, or can you name their best album? I'm not massive knowledge about Pink Floyd, but I could listen to Dark Side of the Moon from start to finish, no problem. I also love The Wall, but apart from Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall, that's about my Pink Floyd knowledge. But I thought, listen, if you want to ask a question, any question, ask it, because we're going to finish soon, so any question goes. But yeah, I love Pink Floyd, but that's the only 2 albums that I can name off the top of my head. There you go. Well, very quickly, because I know that you've got dinner to get. I've got a game of football to go and play. And
that I would like to see. Get somebody to video that. I'd like to see that.
You really don't want it. I'm one of the worst on the pitch. Honestly, 7 asides, and I am horrendous. I am shocking. Something that I don't think a lot of us seen coming. The Rangers women, obviously, last season, extremely successful. No, I don't want a snowball. Don't ask that question. I hate that question. A couple of players that have left that is surprising for yourself, Wolf, and one not so much.
I was quite surprised to see the 3 of them leave.
Who were they, Wolf?
Chantel Swabby, Brianna Westrup, and Kirsten Riley.
And Kirsten Riley, I think, would be the most surprising.
Kirsten Riley, I'm really surprised at. Really surprised at. Brianna Westrup was the biggest surprise for me. She was the captain. I mean, Rangers made a big thing only a couple of weeks ago over taking the championship trophy and putting it in the trophy room, and there was the videos and all the stuff kicking about, and it was really good footage. And then all of a sudden she's gone. Now I know their contracts expired because they operate on very short-term contracts. But I mean, I've heard whispers that at least a couple of them had decent offers from either abroad or down south. And if that's the case, then fair enough, because I mean, women's football is a lot bigger on the continent. Back in America, if Brianna goes back to America, it's a lot bigger over there and also down south. Be interested to see where they end up. As yet, I haven't heard of them going anywhere, but it's quite worrying because that's 2 centre halves away, and a midfield playmaker. So I just didn't see it coming. I mean, the Chantel Swabby one, I'd seen her say something on social media a couple of weeks ago, so I kind of knew she was going. But the other 2 came as a complete bolt out the blue. Really surprised about that. And we haven't really seemed to be bringing anybody in. But again, it's still early days, so who knows?
Yeah, I think from last season, I thought we were quite aggressive in our signings for the women's team. Sort of really went out and got the ones we needed, and obviously, and they've just drawn was it Ferencváros in the Champions League as well? So
yeah, the Champions League thing's I don't know if you're aware of it. It's quite strange. It's like a
mini group before the
mini groups, 2 semi-finals, and for some reason there's a 3rd and 4th place playoff, which I don't quite understand, because you only get through if you win the group.
Yeah, it's a strange system.
And unfortunately, we drew to play in Greece, because I think what they did is they drew the 2 ties, and then put the 4 venues in a hat and said, right, whoever comes out is hosting it, because Glasgow City are hosting their one, but we've actually got to go to Greece for ours, so we could end up playing a final in Greece against Swansea women, which would be a wee bit odd. You know what I mean? To me, it'd be a wee bit odd, but it's it's quite interesting. The Women's Champions League, the way they did it, I watched the draw. The draw was quite nauseating.
I heard
it went on, didn't it? It went on.
Yeah, you did send a few messages about that. Look, guys, that's 6:30. This was only meant to be a wee kind of tester, a wee feeler to see if anybody would phone in, would enjoy it. That's been 45 minutes. I should have known that we will. My daughter's getting into trouble, so I'm going to need to go and sort out whatever's going on there. Loads of questions coming in, guys. I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to end it there. I'm going to try and get all the audio problems sorted, because I think this is something that we could take forward. If it's something that you want to see when the video finishes and stuff like that, just get into the comments and type in, yes, this is something, on no, I'm not really that interested in it. I'm hoping that it's something we can take forward, and maybe, just maybe, add it into the reactions, although it depends on the score, because that could be that could shut the rabble down, if I'm being brutally honest with you. A couple of questions coming in about the tops, a couple coming in about a few other things. We'll be back, and look, maybe in a couple of days, maybe tomorrow, I'll try and get a wee pod set up, because that's, like I say, this was a tester. The beginning went horribly wrong. I blame Curry Muncher personally. I completely blame Curry. But look, listen, thank you to everybody for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. We're on our way to 10k subscribers, hopefully. Should start doing our shows with phone-ins. That's exactly what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and get all the kinks sorted, get all that done, and then we can get a nice wee family Rangers Rabble phone in where everybody gets along and nobody disagrees. Yeah. So yeah,
I can't believe that the phone calls dried up after I had a rant. They were all slaughtering me in the comments, and not one of them had the gumption to phone up and have a go at me.
I think there's an issue with the phone thing that I was using, so I'm going to need to definitely sort that out, because I think
it was deliberately controversial to get people to phone in, and nobody phoned in. I'm disappointed.
Listen, see, once it's all sorted, well, I probably won't be able to have you back on, because the phone just won't stop.
That's just for the women.
Yeah. No chance. Well, Stu, again, guys, thank you so much.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you to everybody watching. Please like and subscribe and follow and all that good stuff. Keep your eye on the community tab on our YouTube, and you'll know exactly when we're going to come back.
We'll be back on tomorrow night.
Tomorrow, there you go. Both said it. We're back on tomorrow night.
Back on tomorrow night.
Thank you for watching, and we'll speak to you tomorrow.
Cheers, guys.